Hello guys, and in this video I will tell you all about weapon rules, like all the weapons, like all of these. Might be a while. So all those weapons, I'm gonna go over every single one and say what type of rules they have and how you should play them. This is a tutorial video, so it's not like most of my other videos. Oh, forgot, I gotta go buy some clothing for the day. I'll be right back. So, I'm back. This might be a while, but I just want to say there are 3 different types of weapons, or playstyle, weapons with a certain playstyle. So there are frontline weapons, and there are midline weapons, and there are backline weapons. Frontline weapons normally, well, as their name says, they play in the front. They normally try to keep the backline players from getting out into the action. And also, they do a lot of spawn camping, and you have to play offensively when you play that role. The midline weapons, which I main, they support the front lines and protect the backline players. They kind of act as, just a player to support all the other teammates and a player to, play in the middle. Don't play too aggressive. Don't play it like a backline. Backline weapons, you have to have, a lot of long range. Midline weapons are, most of them don't have very much range. Don't have too much range. For example, the NZAP. The NZAP has a very supportive kit. It has the ink armor, which supports your teammates. And it has a suction bomb, which is just a good bomb. You can spam it, and that could work. And also, you can just do a lot of stuff with it. So you can, help out your front line with it, and you can help the front line with your bombs and your ink armor, and you can splat the frontliners and midliners when they try to splat your backlines. And you can also help your backline with the ink armor. Now, when I say this, I don't mean every single midline weapon has that exact special, but I'm saying specifically the NZAP 85 is a very good support or midline weapon. So backlines are weapons that generally have a lot of range, like the custom jet squelcher, as in other weapons like the splatter scope. And there are other weapons like the splatlings, and those are all backline weapons. So backline weapons tend to have more range, and they like to stay back, as it says in their name. They're backliners, so backline weapons tend to have a lot of range and need to stay back. The most important job of a backline is to apply pressure to the other team and also try to get some splats. Painting is not a backliner's number one job, as that's mostly made for the front lines and mid lines, but it's always good to get your special ready when needed. So backline weapons, for weapons like the splat charger, you really do have to stay back, because it takes time for you to charge up your shot. So that's That's why if you go up front and they're attacking you and they're in your face, before you can even get your thing charged up, you'll just be splatted. So that's why it's important to stay back. So those are all the different roles of weapons. Now we're gonna go over each weapon and say how you should play it. This starts off with, well, the splooshamatics. As you know, as it shows right there in the thing, it has, the thing, right there in the thing. It says that it has a very low range, so that means, most likely it's a frontline. This one, the Neo Splooshomatic, I'm sorry, it's just not a very good weapon. The squid beacon is okay on it, but tenta missiles, really? I feel like you're not going to be using that when you're playing it. Because as a frontliner, if you use tenta missiles while you're in the front in the battle with your opponents, you're just going to get splatted. And the squid beacon could help you get back into the action if you use sub power up and quick respawn. So that could be an option for that. But then the Splooshomatic should be played very offensively, since it doesn't have much range. So you really do have to get up in their face. And anyways, the Splooshamatics are frontline weapons. Do not use these weapons as a backline. I'm telling you, it will not work. The Splattershot Juniors, well, it depends on how you want to play them. With the Kansas Splattershot Junior, you could stay in the mid lines and spam torpedoes and defend your backliners, or you could go up front and help your frontliners by using a bubble blower. Same thing with the Splattershot Junior. If you use Bomb Saver up, you can throw 2 bombs in 1 ink tank. And because it has the armor, when you use the special, it refills your ink tank. So you could literally have a mini bomb rush. You could throw 4 bombs at once if you have enough Bomb Saver. So you could do that. And also, the ink armor really would help your front lines and back lines. If the opponents are pushing, you could use your ink armor to help your backliners. And if your front line needs help, you could use the ink armor to help out your front lines. After all of this, I'd say the Splattershot Juniors frontline or midline, however you want to play it. The next weapon class is the Splashamatics. The Splashamatics are close range frontline. I want to say frontline, midline weapons. I feel like the Splashomatic is more frontline and the Neo Splashomatic is more midline. So you can use one of the two depending on how you want to play it and how you like their different kits. I'd say the Splashomatic is best used with main power-up. And after all, I've said the role, and its range isn't the best, so I wouldn't fully suggest playing it too far away. The arrow sprays, sorry to say, because I use this so much within my Splatoon playthrough, but they're really not the best. The Aerospray PG is decent, but the Aerospray MG has a super high fire rate with low range and low damage. It has the curling bomb launcher, and because it has a really high fire rate, it really paints a lot. So it's good for Splatfests because they are all turf war. And then it has a suction bomb, kind of like a midliner. But saying how you want to play this weapon, if you want to play it more like painting or more, painting and splatting, you could play in between. You could start off your game in the midline, and when your team pushes up, you should push up with them. That's what I want to say about the arrow sprays. That's what a lot of these weapons are. So the splatter shot is a frontline weapon. I see a lot of people who don't use it like a frontline weapon, but I really do think it's a frontline weapon with medium range and burst bomb and splashdown. It's really good to get a burst of damage on your opponents if you combo your burst bomb with your main weapon. You can really splat opponents fast with that. You know what? I'm probably going to turn off my... It's really good for just getting a good burst of damage. And the splashdown can really help you if you need to run away, get paint around you, or if you're trying to splat your foes. Since it doesn't have the best range, it's best to push up a bit. So if I were to suggest a playstyle for you with the splatter shots, it would be frontline. And with the Kenza splatter shot, I'd say play it midline, since it has the Tenta missiles, and also it is kind of a special spam. Those Tenta missiles can be really annoying. And then for the Tenta Tech splatter shot, I still suggest frontline for that. So now we come to the 52 gals. So the first one has a baller and a point sensor. For this one, I suggest playing frontline, even though it does have a decent range. It does have a high damage, and it can really play aggressively. If you were to play one of the 52 gals, I suggest that you would use main power-up. And the 52 gal deco, it doesn't work out the best since it has Stingray, but it's also a decently offensive weapon. It doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't work out well as it has a curling bomb which can help you get into the front line, but then it has a Stingray which is mostly used on backlines. So it's a bit weird. If I was to suggest any 52 gal, I'd suggest the Kenza 52 gal just because it has the Booyah bomb, which is pretty much made for midlines, and a splash wall, which is good for helping your teammates. And I think if you want to play frontline, the normal 52 gal would be for you. If you want to play midline, the Kenza 52 gal would be for you. Here we are at end zaps. So end zaps are just 100% support. Like, there's no other way you can play it. You don't have to play it frontline. If your team is pushing up, it's not a bad idea to push up with them if you're not using a backline weapon. So that's just never a bad idea. If it seems like it's safe to do it, it's never a bad idea to do that. But this is a support weapon. This is a midline support weapon. It has the ink armor to support your teammates, and it also has the suction bomb, which is just a good bomb in general. And it has range that's kind of in the middle, and it's not long range at all. So you can't play backline with it. Just don't try it. Don't try it. The NZAP 89. I feel like it's still midline. It just like it's not a bad option, but it's less supportive. But it's less supportive and more, spam bombs, spam special. So like you'd be using less of your main weapon when using this weapon. But if you're the type of person who just doesn't use your bombs a lot, then this weapon wouldn't be the best weapon for you, as the auto bombs don't really work if you don't do them a lot. It works, but it splats me every time when people do this. But if you see an enemy that's attacking your teammate, throw an auto bomb and if they're not already splatted or they're still in the battle, it's gonna splat them. I'm sure it will. That's just a little tip for the auto bombs. And then the NZAP 83, either you're just playing splat zones or you're playing random weapons. I don't suggest it. And then the Splatter Shot Pros are midline weapons with midline hits. So the Splatter Shot Pro has a point sensor and an ink storm. It's pretty good for Turf War and splat zones, considering it has ink storm. And point sensor is pretty good the better you are at the game. The Ford Splatter Shot Pro is really made for, most of the rank modes except for splat zones. And then for really any game mode and you just want, normal midline weapon, there's the Kansas Splatter Shot Pro with a Splat Bomb and Booyah Bomb. Coming up next, we have the 96 Gals. The 96 Gal Deco doesn't work very well. It has a splashdown, which is frontline-ish, but it's not a frontline weapon, so I don't suggest using it. If you were to use one, I suggest using the 96 Gal, which works for mostly every mode. Yeah, it works well. So, it's a midline weapon, since it has ink armor and it's a mid-range weapon. The Jet Sculptor is the first backline weapon we have on this list. The normal Jet Sculptor has the Toxic Mist and the Tentamissiles. If you're aiming to get splats and support your team, well, really all of them are for getting splats. If you're aiming to get splats and just have less of it's hard to explain. I'd say if you want to play a backline weapon, the custom Jet Squelcher would be better for you. If you just want to play a Jet Squelcher and you want to play it just like a classic weapon, it's up to preference, Personally, I'd rather play the custom Jet Squelcher because it has Stingray and Burst Bomb. Personally, I like those more. That's all I really have to say. The Luna Blasters are a type of blasters that have a little bit of a higher fire rate and have different specials and a bit of a different range. I personally like them more than the normal blasters. And no one uses the Luna Blaster Neo. It's not bad in zones. I'm just going to tell you that. It's not bad in splat zones. It really isn't. In other game modes, Turf War is okay, but it's just not the best in other game modes other than Turf War. The Luna Blaster is good for... The normal Luna Blaster is good for Clam, Blitz, Rainmaker, and most of the other modes. And it's just a good all-around blaster. If you want to learn more about it, I'd suggest trying it out in a round, because I don't have too much to say about it. And the Kenza Luna Blaster has the Fizzy Bomb and the Ink Storm. The Kenza Luna Blaster is good for helping push your team back. It's honestly more of a midline weapon, as these are more frontline-ish. And it's also pretty good for zones, Rainmaker, and Clam Blitz. we're going on to the normal blasters here. The blaster is not good. Don't use it. These are, yeah, I'd say frontline weapons. You can play them like a midline, but they really don't have that much range. If you don't, I personally don't really like to play weapons very aggressive, or I don't like to play frontline weapons. So, yeah, and then the kit for the normal blaster isn't good. I don't suggest it. If you are going to play a blaster, just use the custom blaster or use the normal blaster. The range blaster and, well, I still need to talk about the custom blaster. It's basically what I said about the blaster, as you can play it frontline-ish, but you don't have to play it fully aggressive. But it does have close range, and it just has better specials and bombs. It's way better than the normal blaster. I'm talking so much. The range blaster, personally, I don't think any of these are good. This one might be okay for splat zones. It all comes down to preference. But if you're gonna use a range blaster, the Grim range blaster is always a good option. To say what type of weapon they are midline weapons. And you can play them a little bit more aggressively, but I don't suggest it. The Clash blasters my throat hurts. Are very high fire rate blasters with a lower range. Because they have a little blast and you don't have to directly hit them to do damage to them. You get a little bit of extra range, but they really don't have a lot of range. If you're going to use one, the Stingray on a frontline weapon really isn't the best. The Clash Blaster is good for you if you want a high fire rate blaster to just run up in people's faces and splat them before they even know it. I don't suggest using the normal Clash Blaster. If you're going to use a Clash Blaster, use the Clash Blaster Neo. When you're going to use your special, maybe move a little back, and then when your team kind of takes control of the map, then you can start pushing up and splatting them. That's all I have to say about the Clash Blasters. Oh, my throat hurts. I'm going to get water. I'll be right back. I'm back. So the rapid blasters are more commonly used than all those other blasters. You're going to use a rapid blaster. Well, I should say what they are. First of all, they are higher range, higher fire rate blasters that, in return of doing less damage, do all that other stuff. They are a 2-shot splat. If you get 3 indirect hits, then you splat them. If you get 1 indirect and 1 direct shot, then you splat them, and 2 direct shots splat them too. The normal rapid blaster, it's definitely used way less. It's not as good because the other kits are just a lot better. I guess it's okay for splat zone since it has a splat bomb launcher and you can place some ink mines in the zone. But other than that, it's not the best. The Rapid Blaster Deco has a suction bomb and inkjet. Ow. The suction bomb and inkjet is better because this is a midline weapon. And also, the bomb launchers aren't always the best, and these other kits just overtake overtake them because they just have better kits. If you're not playing SWAT zones, the Rapid Blaster Deco works in a lot of modes. But when it comes to using the Rapid Blaster Deco or the Kenza Rapid Blaster, a lot of people think the Kenza Rapid Blaster is better. It mostly comes down to preference, as they are both really good. So that really comes down to what you think. But the Rapid Blasters are mid-line weapons, and with them you can really support your team. I've never used a Rapid Blaster Pro ever. What I'm trying to say is I personally don't think they're good. They're longer ranged Rapid Blasters with, in my opinion, worse bombs and specials. They are longer range, so you can be a little bit, you can play back a little bit more. If you really are gonna play one, the Rapid Blaster Pro is made for splat zones, and the Rapid Blaster Pro Deco you could use for any other mode. They're just not all the blasters aren't really good for Turf War. They're okay, you can use them, but they're just not the best. Now, some of my favorite weapons are the L3 nozzle noses. I like them all because they all have good specials and bombs, and they're just really cool. So they are so unique, I'll have to explain them in the practice room. The L3 nozzle noses are 2-shot splat. Unlike all the other weapons, if I hold down the button, it only shoots for a little bit. So with this weapon, you have to shoot twice. My aim. So you have to continuously tap the button, and then it shoots like this. And it's a 2-shot splat. And you can also get a quick burst and spot them like that. And like I said, they all have really good kits. Now this might take a bit. The L3 nozzle nose is really good for Clan Blitz. I feel like it's just good for Clan Blitz. The Kenza L3 nozzle nose is also good for Clan Blitz. It's good for Rainmaker. It's good for zones. It's good for tower control. It's good for everything. I really like it. It's one of my mains. And then the one that I'm using right now is the L3 nozzle nose D, which has the inkjet, which is just a good special for all modes. And it has the burst bomb, which can help you get a quick burst of damage, like I showed you guys earlier. And it has the inkjet, which is just a good all-around special. I have no suggestions for which mode you should play this one in, but I really do think they are midline weapons. Play them like they're midlines. If your team's pushing up, definitely push up with them. The H3 nozzle noses are midline weapons, just 100% midline. You hear me when I say that. The L3 nozzle noses are a bit more offensive. The H3s are midline. They have point sensors which are very supportive, and Tenta missiles, which are also very supportive. They are like the L3 nozzle nose, but have a lower fire rate, and they have a longer time that they're shooting and can be a one-hit KO. If you use main power up with them, they're really good. But if I was gonna use them personally, like I would use the H3 nozzle nose D because it has the ink. It has the same kit as the NZAP 85, and that's a really supportive one. If you wanna, it depends on what. It really does come down to preference, which one you should play. But these are good in all. These are good in all modes. They're very popular as a support weapon, and I've seen a lot of people use it in the championships. The L3s and H3s are good weapons. So, now moving on to our next set of weapons. Let's see. What are they? They are the squeezer. Oh, totally forgot about the cherry H3 nozzle nose. I forgot about it because I've never used it and I don't like it. Forget about it. The squeezer is personally one of my favorites. A lot of people don't like it. I do. It's really cool because you can shoot like this, kind of like a ballpoint. You know, you can shoot like this. But then if you tap the button continuously, you can shoot like this. And let's see. Okay, now let's see. So when you tap it, it does 8 more damage than when you hold it and shoot. When you hold it and shoot, it has less range. When you tap it and shoot, it has more range and does more damage. So when they're right up in their face, I still would suggest that it's good to hold it. If they're like right up in your face like this, it's better to hold it. But if you're like just like in here in the middle, like I said in the middle, I mean it's a midline weapon. Okay. So since it's a midline weapon, you'll be playing it in the middle. The reason I don't think this one is very good, since it's a midline weapon, the Stingray's not good on it. The Stingray's not good on midline weapons. It's only good on backline weapons. It's horrible on frontline weapons. And it doesn't work on midline weapons. I already said that. But it really only works on backline weapons. So if you're going to use a squeezer, I suggest using the foil squeezer. The foil squeezer has the bubbles. And there are a lot of tricks you can do with the bubbles. I'll probably make a whole nother video on that. But if you're going to use the squeezer, I really do suggest the foil squeezer, which has the splat bomb and bubble blower. I really like the squeezers. The next one is the first class of rollers. It's the carbon roller. It has the auto bomb and ink storm. Personally, I don't really like this one because the carbon roller deco has a really cool combo. Since it's not always a one-shot splat, you can use the burst bomb to get a really quick burst of damage, and you can also get a really quick splat. I'll show you right now. Okay, so like you're painting around. It has a higher fire rate than the normal roller too. You can do this, and it really quick. But yeah, it's faster than a normal roller, but it does less damage and has different clicks. I do see the carbon rollers used a lot more than the normal rollers. But anyway, let's get to the point. The carbon roller, obviously frontline, as it has very short range and just midline bombs and specials. But if you're gonna use a carbon roller, I suggest that you use the carbon roller deco. The splat roller is a splat roller. Don't use the normal splat roller. The crack-on splat roller is used a lot more than the other rollers. It has the squid beacon to jump to and the baller. Personally, I don't like the rollers too much, so I don't have a big opinion on this, but it really is frontline. It's good for Clam Blitz, Rainmaker. Okay, my throat hurts. And that's it. It's a frontline weapon, like all rollers. Oh, finger, stop. Mm-hmm. So, the Kansas Splat Roller has the Splat Bomb and Blubble Blower, just like the Foil Squeezer. It's basically just like the Foil Squeezer, but the roller version, since it has the same bomb and special. And as you know, it's frontline like all the others, and it has the same stats as the other rollers. Now, the Dynamo Roller is really fun. It's basically midline. It's kind of backline-ish. Depends on which one you're playing. It's midline if you're playing the Gold Dynamo or the Kensa Dynamo. It's more backline-ish if you're using the Dynamo. Now, these are good for all ranked modes, and they're also good for Turf War. They're just really good all around. The reason they're different than other rollers is they have longer range, they do more damage, and they're a lot slower. But they do have different bombs and specials. So, the Dynamo Roller has Ink Mine and Stingray, which in this one is the less used one, as a lot of people don't think it has the range to be a backline, and Ink Mine and Stingray is just a weird combo. The Gold Dynamo Roller is good for Clam Blitz. Well, I already said it's good for all modes. Yeah, it has the Ink Armor and Splat Bomb, same as the Spider Shot Junior. It's really good if you're wanting to play some support. The Kensa Dynamo has a Sprinkler and Booyah Bomb. This one is the most used weapon, as it's a midline weapon, and it's just a really good all-around weapon. The Flings and Rollers, I don't suggest using them, but the normal Flings and Roller is for splat zones. It's frontline, midline-ish. The Foil Flings and Roller just shouldn't be used, okay? That's all I gotta say about the Flings and Rollers. I don't suggest you to main a roller, as I don't really like rollers. If you're gonna main a roller, try the Gold Dynamo Roller. Remember to use Ink Saver, okay, guys? If you're gonna use the Dynamo Roller, use as much Ink Saver as you could get. Okay, so now we're at the brushes. The brushes are frontline weapons, as the range is literally super, as short as it gets. They really are good for special spamming, and they're really quick. They are definitely frontline weapons, and for the normal ink brush, I don't think it's the best. I think the permanent ink brush is the best because it has an ink armor. Since it's going to be a frontliner, that's really good. And since it gets its specials really fast, you can use the Sprinkler to get it even faster. When you use this weapon, I suggest using special charge up so you can get your specials even quicker. The ink brush Nouveau and the permanent ink brush are good for all modes, yeah. They're just except for zones. The permanent, if you want to play ink brush and zones, you should use the permanent ink brush since it has Sprinkler and ink armor is just always good. The octo brushes have a bit longer range and do a bit more damage, but they're a bit slower. I think that I'm surprised that I don't see a ton of people using brushes, but that might just be me. All of the Octo brushes have good kits. One has the Auto Bomb and Inkjet, which is just a good kit because Inkjet is good all around. And by the way, these are also frontline weapons, and the Auto Bomb is just a good sub. You should use brushes if you really want to be up in their face. The Octobrush Nouveau really isn't the best. It's good because it does have squid beacons. And squid beacons can always help you get back into the action if you use some sub power up. And the Tenta missiles are better for midline back or lower backliners. So I don't think it really fits the brushes. The Kenza Octobrush is really good if you really want to be all up in their face and you really want to just get your stamp and run over them. It's good, and it's good for all modes, including the normal Octobrush, and it has a suction bomb, which is also just a good weapon overall. The Squiffer. I've been doing this for 42 minutes. Okay, talking 42 minutes straight and doing nothing else. The classic Squiffer is for people that want to play aggressively and more close range as a charger. I like them. They have a quicker charge, and you can charge them in the air at the same speed as you're charging them on the ground. And it has a point sensor and armor. This one is more of a supportive build. And these are just good for all modes, and they have good specials and bombs. The new Squiffer has the Auto Bomb and Baller. I think this one is really good for Clan Blitz. Well, they're good for all modes, but this one is specifically really good for Clan Blitz. And also, it's a bit more frontline. The fresh Squiffer is less support, more midline. And, like I said, play it. This is probably one of the best builds, one of the most used builds. But you can play it if you just want to play as an aggressive charger. The Splat Charger is a backline weapon that has the Stingray and is good for all the rank modes. Although I do see a lot of people using it in Turf War, so you can still use it in Turf War and you do good. But the Splat Charger, the normal Splat Charger is probably the best Splat Charger if you just want to play a classic backline weapon. It has the Stingray, which is really good for backlines, and it has a Splat Bomb. So if they walk right up to you, you can place a Splat Bomb and run away. The Firefin Splat Charger is for people that want to play a little bit more aggressive, but still not be as aggressive as Squiffer. It has a splash wall, which can protect it while shooting at the opponents. And it also has a suction bomb launcher, which makes it pretty good for splat zones and Turf War. It's just a good weapon overall. The Kansas Splat Charger is also good for frontline chargers, since it has the Baller and Sprinkler. I really think this weapon isn't as good as the other chargers, since it's not a frontline weapon. But if you just want to have some fun, the Kenda Charger is always a good option. The Splatter Scope is basically the same exact thing as the Splat Charger, but it just scopes in. Same thing with the Firefin Splatter Scope and the Kenda Splatter Scope. They're both really fun to play. If you're good at them and you have good aim, they are really fun to play. The E-Liter 4K is literally the most annoying weapon to ever go against. Personally, you have to be really, really good at it if you ever want to use it and actually, win. Unless your teammates are just going to carry you. But it has the longest range in the game. It's my least favorite weapon to play with and go against, so I don't have much of a preference. It's good for splat zones and a lot of the ranked modes, and I do see it a lot. And then the custom E-Liter 4K is one that you're okay with getting splatted a bit, because it has a squid beacon to get you back into the action. And same thing with the scope variants, you know how it is. Except for, they have a scope. The Bamboozlers have this supercharged, fast charge speed. They have a okay range, and they do a ton of damage, but they still don't one-shot KO. So, the Bamboozler 14 MK1 is frontline-ish, but I don't think you should use it because it has the Tentamissiles. Tentamissiles are better for midline, backline. One of the two. This one has the Toxic Mist, which slows down your enemies and drains their ink. And it also has the Burst Bomb Launcher. So it's good for Turf War because it has the Burst Bomb Launcher. And you really can't splat people quick because it has this Toxic Mist which can slow them down while you're just shooting at them real quick. It's really crazy when you're in that situation where you're in the Toxic Mist and you're getting shot at by a Bamboozler. If you're good at this weapon, everyone you're going against will be scared. I'm telling you. That includes me. Now, the most used one is the midline Bamboozler, which has the Fizzy Bomb, which really can be spammed, and the Bubble Blower. You can pop the Bubble Blowers really fast by spamming your main weapon and throwing a Fizzy Bomb. It's the same as all the other Bamboozlers, but just more midline, and it's good for all the ranked modes. So, after all this, I'd say this one's midline and the rest are frontline. So, the GooTuber, on the other hand, I don't see a lot of people using it. I don't have much of an opinion about it. It's midline weapon. I think it's a midline weapon. It's a midline weapon. And none of them really do have good subs and specials. They're in a mix of being frontline and being midline. They're kind of weird. You can hold your charge as long as a Nautilus can. And you don't have to have it fully charged to hold it. And you can splat them without charging it much more than halfway. I suggest when you use this, you use main power-up, but it's really weird. I'm not sure what modes you should use it in, but it's basically like a really weird version of a charger. I have no preference on which one of these is better. They're both really weird, okay? The Sloshers are midline weapons that have pretty good kits, you know? The normal Slosher, well, they're midline weapons, first of all. They're midline weapons. And you can play them frontline, but I suggest midline. They're a two-shot splat. So this normal Slosher is a two-shot splat with the Suction Bomb and Tentamissiles. I don't think a lot of people should use this one since it has the Tentamissiles. I just feel like Tentamissiles on a Slosher isn't really the best. Now, one of the more used Sloshers is the Slosher Deco, which has the Sprinkler, which makes it pretty good for all the rain. So this one's pretty good for all the ranked modes, just like all the Sloshers. And it has the Baller. So, it's just a really good all-around weapon. It's hard to explain. It really is hard to explain, okay, guys? And yeah, it's a midline weapon. You know the deal. The Splat Bomb and the Burst Bomb. So the Soda Slosher has the Splat Bomb and the Burst Bomb launcher. It's kind of, I don't know. This weapon is kind of weird. And it's the same as all the other Sloshers, but its kit is really weird. The Splat Bomb and Burst Bomb launcher. The launcher. You should use this one if you're just trying to have fun and mess around. The Tri-Slosher. My throat is so scratchy right now. I've been talking for 50 minutes straight. The Tri-Slosher is a frontline weapon with Burst Bomb and Ink Armor. This one is good for... A lot of these are good for all modes, and this one's just a good weapon. it has a pretty cool one-shot-ish splat. And you see how that's pretty quick. And that didn't work out. I'll show you. Just a cool trick with sloshers. And that's good for super jump camping too. But if you're just trying to, you know, surprise someone and do that, throwing the burst ball and hitting them is always good. So the next weapon is the Tri-Slosher Nuvo. So the Tri-Slosher Nuvo is in a situation where it's just not as good as the other one. So we're not going to talk about it at all. You shouldn't use it. And the sloshing machine has the The sloshing machine has the auto bomb and the stingray. I don't think this one is as good as the others because it has a stingray and it's a midline weapon. It's kind of weird, but you know, if you get a direct shot, it does 76 damage. And then if you get an indirect shot, it does 38. So you can get an indirect shot like that, and then get him a direct shot like that. 3 indirect shots. Get splat. But I just feel like the normal one isn't as good because it has a stingray. That makes it, like I said earlier, the stingray is not good on midline weapons or frontline weapons. It only really works on backline weapons. The next one is the sloshing machine Neo. This one you really don't see a lot. You don't see a lot of sloshing machines. If you're gonna use a sloshing machine, I suggest using the Kenza one. It's been used in many championships before, and it has the fizzy bomb, and the fizzy bomb is really good. So it has the Neo one, the Neo sloshing machine, is good if you want to play midline. This one is for those of you who want to play a bit more aggressive. Since it has a splashdown, it does need to be played a little bit more aggressive. So you can, there's not much I have to say about this. The Neo is more made for midline. This one's more made for frontline. The Blobber is a really good weapon. I mean, it does so much damage and it sloshes so many of them. So good. Like, honestly, it's so good that I think, like, playing Splatoon would just be easier without it even in the game. It's just so annoying to go against. It's too good. It's fun to play it, but seriously, it's just not fun to go against. With the splash wall, it has a splash ball, which is pretty good. And then the other one has the sprinkler and suction bomb. I feel like it depends on which mode you're playing. If you're playing zones, turf, or in other modes like that, well, those two, and then you should use this one. Or it really doesn't matter which one you use. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. But you can do whatever you want. They're both good. I've been talking for nearly 1 hour straight. This doesn't feel good. So the Explosher is very slow slosher that's backline. I feel like if you want to play a little bit more aggressive, I mean, just the custom slosher is used more. It depends on how you want to play it. Mostly comes down to preference. But it's a two-shot splat that has a really slow fire rate. It's a backline. The mini splatlings are midlines or front lines that, well, you don't really see a lot of them. If you're going to use one, depending on which mode, I feel like for tower control, the mini splatling's good. For turf war and splat zones, the zinc mini splatling is good. And for all the other modes, the Kenza mini splatling is good. And then other than that, it's just it has a high charge speed, it's really quick, and it's a splatling. The heavy splatling is it's a backline weapon with a stingray and sprinkler. It is like that. It's like the mini splatlings, but it has a slower charge rate. It shoots more when you charge it up to fully. It shoots more than the mini splatling, and it has longer range. If you're gonna use a heavy splatling, I suggest using this one. A lot of people like this one, but then I see so many of these when I play ranked. If you're playing tower control, rainmaker, or clan blitz, this heavy splatling is always good. But it mostly comes down to preference if you want to play the heavy splatling or the heavy splatling remix. The heavy splatling deco, I don't like it. There isn't much that I have to say about it. And then the hydra splatling takes longer to charge, a lot longer to charge. And it shoots a lot more. It's really a backline weapon. Just it has a bit more range. It does have more range. And I just want to say, splashdown on a backline weapon is horrible. Just use the custom hydra splatling. You'll be better off then. It's pretty decent for ranked modes, and since it has once you charge it to fully charge and then you let it go, you can't really make it stop until you go under the ink, and it shoots so much. It shoots so much when you have it fully charged. So it's kind of crazy. If you're gonna play backline and you really want to play backline, this weapon is an option for you. Now my favorites, the ballpoint splatling. The ballpoint splatlings are really cool. They both have good kits. They have the Inkjet and Toxic Mist, and then they have the ballpoint splatling Nouveau, which has the Squid Beacon and Inkstorm. These splatlings are really cool because they actually have two ranges, just like the Squeezer. So you see it can shoot like this, but I'm just going to say it's a backline weapon. Now look at it. Shooting like that. And you can't hold it charged just like every other splatling. But you can charge it back up while you're shooting it. Well, you're not going to be shooting it while you charge it back up. But after you shot it for a while, unlike other splatlings, you can just charge it back up. And it's really cool. Personally, I think if you want to be in the action, just like all those things, it all comes down to preference, which one you want to use. Personally, I like the ballpoint splatting Nouveau more. But it really all does come down to preference. Now, even though they nerfed this weapon so much, it still is one of the best weapons. I really do think you should try using it sometime. Remember to use run speed when you use splatlings, okay, guys? So that's just a really good backline weapon that I think is the quickest and fastest when it comes to, splatlings. Other than the mini splatling, but that's not backline. So, now that we've gone all this way, we're at the Nautilus. So the Nautilus is a very unique splatling. You charge it up. It doesn't have two ranges. It's a midline splatling. And if you're gonna use one, I suggest using the 79 or whatever it's called, the 77, 75, whatever it's called. But this one, the Nautilus is really cool. Cause look, you can store your charge, and you can do it as long as almost as long as a YouTuber. But it's really cool because it's the only splatling that can hold its charge. It's really good right now since it hasn't been nerfed at all. So, well, it probably has been buffed and nerfed, but if you're gonna use one, it's just a really good all-around weapon for all rings. And I think if you're gonna use one, use the 70-something, the 79. So that's the Nautilus, midline weapon, and it's good for all ranked modes. It's just really good. But now we're moving on to the dualies. So the dapple dualies are frontline weapons, and I feel like the dapple dualies are good for all modes. They're not the best, but specifically the normal dapple dualies aren't the best because they're special. Their special is kind of like midline. If you're gonna be playing frontline, I feel like it's only. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's a really cool trick you can do with them, with the special and the dualies. So any dually with a bomb rush can do a really cool thing. I mean, if you do that, you can. If you roll twice, use your special. If you roll twice and then use your special, you can roll twice again. So it basically resets the timer thing. So this is a frontline weapon. So if you want to just be really quick and you think you're going to be using your special to do that cool trick a lot, the dapple dualies are for you. Personally, if I was going to use a different type of dapple dualies, I'd use the clear dapple dualies. It all comes down to preference which one you want to use. But if you really want to be playing frontline, use the normal dapple dualies or the clear dapple dualies. If you're going to play frontline-ish, then you could use the dapple dualies nouveau. I feel like for spot zones and turf war, you should use the dapple dualies nouveau. And for all the other modes, it all comes down to preference with which one you want to use. But now we're on to the splat dualies. So these are just the normal splat dualies. And as you know, the dualies are really cool because they can do a thing called dodge rolling. If you're new to this game and you don't know about it, that's what it is. So they can move around really quick. And it's really cool because it's really easy to aim. But when you don't have enough range to hit them. They're not very long range. They are mid. It's not letting me. Okay. They are midline, frontline weapons. One of the two. They're just normal dualies. Okay, that's all I gotta say about them. And they're good for basically all modes. And you can get a quick burst with the burst bomb. Spot them like that. But it's really cool. If you're just starting out, dualies would be a cool option for you. So the next pair of dualies are the aim parry splat dualies, which have the inkjet and curling bomb. Once again, Midline-ish, frontline-ish. They're more frontline-ish because they have the curling bomb. And Inkjet really can help apply pressure. So if you're going to use one, I feel like these two are the best. I main Kansas Splat Dualies. So if you're going to... These two are kind of like battling each other. I'm not sure which one is better. But if you're going to use dualies, use the Kansas Splat Dualies or the Emperor Splat Dualies. If you're just a beginner and you're just starting out, Splat Dualies would be the best. But if you just want to try out some dualies for ranked, Emperor Splat Dualies or Kansas Splat Dualies are for you. The Gluga Dualies are kind of like the 52 Gal, except for their dualies. And they're a 2-shot splat when you're rolling and shooting. And when you're doing this and you're shooting, it's a 3-shot splat. When you shoot, it's not going to be shooting directly or like you're aiming. Because look, I just shot like 4 shots and only 4 or 5 shots and only 2 of them hit. So it does have a bit of, it doesn't shoot exactly where you're trying to, shoot it. But the normal Gluga Dualies are good if you just want to try out something with Inkjet. If you like Inkjet, these are for you. But if you want to play some Gluga Dualies, if you want to play supportive, use the Kenza Gluga Dualies. If you want to play midline-ish, frontline-ish, Gluga Dualies Deco. If you just want to play kind of both-ish, normal Gluga Dualies. And moving on to the Dualie Sculptures. So these don't have dodge rolls. These have slides. But they're really cool because if you use main power up, you can get 2 shots flat on them, the people that you're going against. But this is basically the ultimate tracking weapon. Because they have the tracking bomb, literally. Because like if you throw the bomb at them, you know where they are. When you do this, you can see where they are. And when they have the thing locked on to them, it's easier to see them. So, and when people have taken damage on the map, you can see them until their health recovers. So this is basically the ultimate tracking weapon. This is good for all the modes, but the other one is basically just Splat Zones and Turf War, since it has the Ink Storm and Splat Zone, the Splat Zone bomb and the Splat bomb. So this one is for all the ranked modes other than Splat Zones and Turf War. So now we're on to the Dark Tetra Dualies. So these ones just normally have 4 dodge rolls. I mean, just look at this. So cool, huh? So there are definitely frontline weapons. The Dark Tetra Dualies is definitely a frontline weapon. But a really cool trick you can do with the Light Tetra Dualies is, it's gonna be so much fun. Can't wait to do this. And the Light Tetra Dualies have the bomb launcher. You know what that means. Chickens. But it also means that you can do a ton of dodge rolls in a row. Specifically 8. So, it's really cool. They're both frontline weapons. But this one is more made for zones and turf war. But it can be played in all modes. It still is frontline. But you can play it however you want. It's just so much fun to do this. Then you can throw away your chickens. Go get them, chickens. So, That's the light tetra dualies. And then the last type of weapon is the, nope, still going. Okay, finally, the Splatbrella. So the Splatbrella is basically just made, the normal Splatbrella is just normally made for Splat zones in Turf War. And if you're gonna use a Brella, use Ink Saver main, except for the undercover Brellas, they don't need Ink Saver. But if you're gonna use a Brella, use Ink Saver main, and you can get a really cool one shot like this. So you do this, and you hold the button. The really cool thing about Brellas is that you can use this as a shield if you didn't already know. And if you hold it for a long time, it shoots out. And also damages the opponents that it runs into. And can splat opponents. Like that. And then it has a sprinkler, which can splat opponents. So that's what just forget about the sprinkler up there. That's what this normal Splatbrella is. So I just want to say these are frontline-ish, midline-ish weapons. The Sorella is the more used one. It can also be used, this one can be used for all modes and has the bomb launcher. And it also has the chicken bomb, which is my favorite bomb. Yes. So this one is just same as the other one, but with different specials. Now, the next type of weapon is the undercover Brella. So this one is a Brella that doesn't shoot out. So you just hold the button and it shoots continuously. It also keeps the... Okay. So this one is more frontline-ish because it has the splashdown. As you know, that's a frontline special. And the undercover Brella is not as used as its other variants. The other variants are the undercover, the Sorella undercover Brella. Now this one has baller and splat the bomb. This one, the splat the bomb. This one is more used than the other one, just because, you know, the splashdown isn't the best special ever known to exist, and it's just a bit better for Brella. And then the last variant, which is one of the most popular Brellas, other than the Sorella Brella. This is probably the second most popular Brella. It's the Kenza undercover Brella. This one is very good for spawn camping. And it can stay alive for literally hours, and it can bomb spam, which is so much fun to do. And, oh yes, it's just so much fun. Oh, I love this weapon so much. But this weapon is a frontline weapon. The other ones are frontline-ish, midline-ish, but that's what most of the weapons are. And now to get into our last weapon class. The Tentabrella. It has one shot if you hit a direct hit. It's two shot if you hit two indirect hits. And as you know, it's one shot if you do that. So, yeah, you need to use Ink Saber. And These are frontline-ish, midline-ish. You're gonna be supporting your teammates. You have to support your teammates so much to do good with this weapon. It's a really hard weapon to play good with. And just like other umbrellas, if you hold it like that, you can do this, and you can just walk with it so you're hard to hit. And then you can just shoot at your opponents. It has the bubble so you can stay alive even longer. But this one, as I said, these umbrellas are frontline-ish, midline-ish. But just remember that you stay with your teammates. But if you want to spawn camp with this, it's always fun because you just stay alive forever. So, the next version is a Cirilla Tint umbrella. This one, you shouldn't use it unless you really want the splash wall. And then the bomb launcher is a bomb launcher. So this one is more for painting and splash wall. If you want painting and splash wall, this one's for you. It's less frontline though. Definitely less frontline. So if you want to play more aggressive Tint umbrella, this one's for you. It has the Ultra Stamp and Ink Mine. If you really want to keep those people out of your base, weapon is for you. But it uses up so much ink, so use Ink Saver. Just use Ink Saver, okay? And I'm done with this. I've been talking for 1 hour and 20 minutes straight, and I'm tired. Have a good day. Bye. My throat.